What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So the worst kept secret online next to that Mario 3D All-Stars collection is the Xbox Series S, which is supposed to be the cheaper next-gen console for Microsoft going into this holiday. Well, it looks like it has now leaked online. We know what it looks like. There is a marketing slide that was leaked out online by Brad Sams. We're going to go over that here today. Also, we get to talk a bit about CD Projekt Red and how Cyberpunk is seeing some backlash because there appear to be microtransactions mixed up in it, but I think the information's kind of all over the place. I wanted to go over what's actually happening here so you get all the facts with that one. And we get to talk about Kingdom Hearts on the Switch, the older Kingdom Hearts that aren't there on the Switch yet, because Nomura was asked about this as to why, and his answer was, we'll say interesting. As always, guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton. And if you're brand new here, hit that red subscribe button down below. We're working at 500,000 subscribers by the end of this year. And we're going to start today with that Mario 3D All-Stars collection, because on Amazon, the sales spiked heavily for this game, as you would expect, since Nintendo told us that it's basically going to be a rare game 10, 15 years from now. Actually, a year from now, because, of course, it's not going to be sold at all at the end of March. So once we go into April, it'll be delisted. They shouldn't be on store shelves anymore. And because of this, if you go on Amazon's best-selling video games for the year 2020, it's already the second best-selling video game on there, and it's just behind Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing is still number one. I don't think the Mario 3D All-Stars collection will pass it. It could, because there's going to be a mad scramble for this game, especially at the holidays. It's going to come down to how many copies Nintendo actually provides to stores. That's the biggest thing, because the demand will be there. It's already a very good collection for what's there, especially if you've played maybe a little bit of one of the games and they're all mostly new to you. You might as well just go grab it if you can, right? Even if you've played them, it's still really cool to have it on your Switch portably, so I get all of that and why people are very excited. It's just this 6-month sales window that is certainly going to skyrocket sales for the second half of their fiscal year, then going towards the end of March. So no surprise here, it makes sense. Also, speaking of leaks, it looks like we're going to see some more Roller Coaster Tycoon showing up on the Switch pretty soon, actually. This was tweeted out here. You can see this is from NW Player saying Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 Complete Edition for Switch has leaked. Looks like it's unannounced. Just got an update, and you can see a little screenshot there of it being updated Tuesday, September 1st, and version 1.0.1 with video capture enabled. Very cool. Roller Coaster Tycoon is an awesome series. Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, I actually really liked. It's on Steam still, but to see it go over to the Switch is great. I'm curious when this is getting announced. This seems like something that would have maybe worked in like a partner showcase, but they could just drop it. Like, they could just say, hey guys, Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, it's out on the Switch next week, or maybe they just drop it straight up. It's like, hey, it's available now, right? It's not like that massive release that you might even see on store shelves. It could just be a digital only release that gets put out there, and that's cool because, like I said, Roller Coaster Tycoon is a fun series, and seeing it on the Switch is also great, so I guess expect Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 to be announced anytime now. Oh, and here was a surprising announcement. Minecraft on the PlayStation 4 will be getting VR support. The PlayStation VR headset will be usable in Minecraft. This was put out on a post on PlayStation blog. Mojang also had an update as well, and it's odd, I guess, a bit to think about this, because that, of course, is a Microsoft studio that is supporting a feature on PlayStation that's not going to be on the Xbox necessarily. I mean, it's VR support, I guess, on PC as well then. But to see it on PlayStation VR, according to them, is the full-fat, sure, Minecraft experience where you play through it with your DualShock 4, of course, walk around with the headset on, and I guess you look around in the world of Minecraft. I'm trying to picture how this would work out and what it would be like, but I don't know, I guess it's kind of a cool experience to think about, and a new way to look at Minecraft, right? There you go. Still very, very popular, and now you can use your PlayStation 4 headset. At least the update's coming this month. I don't know. Let me know if that's something that people are looking at, like excited to do VR in Minecraft, because it looks like Sony is going to do quite a bit of VR updates this week, which has people thinking that maybe the PlayStation 5 event that's been rumored is next week. I didn't see a lot of people like jumping up and down for PlayStation VR updates, but it's something that Sony's going to keep doing because they are the market leader for VR. So again, this makes sense. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger bigger stuff. We're going to start right away with the Xbox Series S. Heavily rumored, right? We call it Lockhart because that was his codename. It's shown up all over the place on actual Microsoft marketing, on the side of boxes for controllers, on Game Pass cards. It's everywhere. Microsoft's supposed to announce this, I think, months ago, but because of the current pandemic, the situation, remote work, all of this stuff getting thrown into flux right now, it's been getting pushed back and delayed over and over again for that announcement, but it looks like it will not be much longer because now marketing material appears to be leaking out that shows the appearance of the system. I think the Series S is going to be announced in like the next week to week and a half. I believe we are pretty close to it, but let's take a look at it. Brad Sams had the scoop here. Go check him out on YouTube as well, especially if you're interested in following any Windows updates or anything with Microsoft and the Xbox and all of that. He has all of that covered, also over on Thurrott.com. But let's take a look at the image here that he posted up on Twitter, giving us our first look at the Xbox Series S. I've also seen some people vetting this even further, saying that this is correct. This is what the Xbox Series S is going to look like whenever they decide to reveal it, and interestingly enough, there is a price next to it. Now, it does say that the price, of course, is subject to change. It'll also probably be different in different regions around the world, so this might not be the exact price that you will have in your store, but it appears, of course, this would be, at least for the US, at $299. You know what that tells me? The Xbox Series X probably would not double it up in price. Most likely it will be $499, so that to me makes a lot of sense there. Series S at $299 or $300, and then the Xbox Series X coming in at $500. But let's go back to the system here, and it is an interesting design, I would say. It has kind of that two-tone look, but in a very specific way. That is the fan grille that is all black, and then it's surrounded, of course, by the white shell for the rest of the console. We cannot get a look at the, I guess, the side profile of it or the back. I assume it's kind of that two-tiered step, like the Xbox One S, for example, right, where there's a whole nother layer below that top shell. So it's probably a little thicker than what we're seeing, but I was told that this would be a fairly small device that should be smaller than the One S, and that is exactly how it appears here. It is really funny that it looks like the fan is like half of the overall system, because underneath of that black vent should just be one large fan. Other things we have in the image here, of course, is the power button on the top of it and when it's standing up. And at the bottom, we appear to have a black sync button and then a USB port. And right next to that, of course, is the newer controller that Microsoft will be selling with the Series S and the Series X. And I mean, it's kind of what I thought it would be. For a while there, it would have been cool, of course, if they went like a cube, so it has that GameCube look to it, but Microsoft also was thinking more or less, oh, we want it to look like basically a box you would put under your TV, and people wouldn't think twice about it being this weird cube that's under there and be like, what is that? The Xbox Series X had to go the route it did because of how much they were trying to fit into what's basically a mini PC tower. It's very clear that that was what even Sony had to do. They like to have their systems look like little boxes you put under your TV, but they couldn't even go that route. This is a way for them to do that. I assume most people will take this. They probably won't stand it up. It would be flat. This should be a 4 teraflop machine with an SSD, the same CPU that is currently in the Series X. There have been XDK documents that have been posted around that I've even seen that do show that. Less CUs on the GPU side, but the CPU should be the same. So you're gonna get the same kind of games running, just at a lower resolution. 1080p to 1440p appears to be the target, and they would then also leverage checkerboard upscaling or any new upscaling that they come up with, so that maybe it could also put out 4K images. But if you want a good look at it, I'll leave a link down below in the sources so you can check it out yourself. Now we just have to wait. Microsoft should be unveiling this, as well as the Xbox Series X with its pricing. I think it's all gonna happen all at the same time, and it's probably gonna be in about a week or so. Next up, let's talk about Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory, as well as other Kingdom Hearts games that are currently not on the Switch. Of course, Melody of Memory will be on the Switch alongside the other platforms, and that'll be in November. But the big question here has been, why aren't the other games on the Switch as well? It seems, for at least from what we're all looking at, as an easy way for Square to make some extra money, because, I mean, let's be real, they would take 1.5, 2.5, they'd probably bundle it together and drop it for $60. And you know what? A lot of people would buy it happily as portable Kingdom Hearts. So, you know, I get it. And those games are really fun. And I understand why people would still pick it up even at that pricing. But they haven't done it yet. And it seems strange, hasn't it? We keep mentioning that. That's weird. Why isn't Kingdom Hearts popping up? Well, it looks like they have thought about it and they've even tried it. See, during an interview with Nintendo Enthusiast, this was covered by even Nomura himself. Through a translator, Tetsuya Nomura confirmed there are currently no specific plans for more Kingdom Hearts games on Switch. Square did consider ports of existing games for Switch in the past, but found that it was technologically difficult. However, Nomura added that he believes Nintendo Switch is a very appealing piece of hardware, and he had always wanted to do something on this console. Additionally, while he cannot speak for games at Square that he isn't associated with, Nomura did express that it is possible another game of his could come to Switch. Apparently, he also said other games that he has been associated with or worked on could be coming to Switch. And I'd be shocked if Square, of course, didn't do something like that with older games that maybe would be a bit more compatible, I guess. It's strange to hear say that it technically difficult when it was also on the PlayStation 3, but if you go back and look at the development for Kingdom Hearts 1.5, for example, it wasn't easy. Like, Square being Square lost a lot of stuff from the original Kingdom Hearts itself. They lost assets and code and all of this, and just to get 1.5 done, they had to recreate a lot of that. And that, of course, went to the PlayStation 3, and, well, they designed it specifically for the PS3 because it didn't really go anywhere else at the time using that cell processor. I'm sure that would have been a pain to move from, so they maybe would have moved it from the PlayStation 4 version that obviously went to the Xbox One version. But that game, I mean, it's hard to say because, of course, none of us developed for it for the most part. I assume, unless you're a Square Enix developer, let us know in the comments. I assume most of us did not develop for the Kingdom Hearts 1.5 or 2.5, so we really can't give an idea as to why it would be technically difficult. I kind of wish Nomura had gone into more detail as to what it was. If I had to take a guess, it could even be space related. I mean, the game, the collection together is like 60 gigabytes or something with updates, and maybe they're looking at that and saying, well, a physical release even on a 32 gig cart wouldn't make sense for us financially to do that unless Nintendo showed up and agreed to publish it. I guess that's always possible. You know what? If that was the case, Square, split them up, do 1.5, do 2.5, and just release them digitally on the eShop and just kind of move on from there, because I think if it was either just digital or nothing at all, most people would take that. But I kind of wish he had elaborated more. You know what? If there's another interview, I hope someone pressed him a bit on this one because I am very curious. Good news though, we could get some more games from Nomura, so you know what that means? Final Fantasy 13 coming to the Switch. Next up, let's talk about CD Projekt Red and Cyberpunk 2077, one of the most anticipated games, for me anyway, for this year, coming out, of course, in November. I'll be grabbing it on next-gen platform, probably the Series X, I'm thinking. We'll see. And then, of course, on PC to use that RTX 3080 that I am hopefully able to get and does not get sold out immediately in like a week. We'll see. But something has popped up that's caused a bit of a stir online, and that has to do with CD Projekt Red and microtransactions. Usually those don't go together in the same sentence, right? You don't think about CD Projekt Red and Cyberpunk and, oh, the microtransactions. Will they be in there? CD Projekt Red's openly made fun of other companies for doing that in their single-player games. Well, it looks like CD Projekt Red will be playing around with microtransactions in a Cyberpunk game, but we have to go through this because it seems like everything's getting blended together here. So this appears to have been something that was mentioned even last year, kind of quietly, but in an earnings call, the CEO at CD Projekt Red did mention this a bit further, saying, "Well, we're never aggressive towards our fans. We treat them fairly and we're friendly, so of course not. We won't be aggressive, but you can expect great things to be bought. The goal is to design monetization in a way that makes people happy to spend money. I'm not trying to be cynical or hide something. It's about creating a feeling of value. Same as with our single-player games, we want gamers to be happy while spending money on our products. The same is true for microtransactions. You can expect them, of course, and Cyberpunk 2077 is a great setting for selling things, but it won't be aggressive. It won't upset gamers, but it'll make them happy. That's our goal, at least." Well, it didn't work yesterday anyway, or even today, or probably up until the release of Cyberpunk, but it's very important to remember what they are talking about here is the multiplayer side, and we know like nothing about it other than it's going to be its own standalone thing, and it's not out for like another 2 years. I don't even know if they were planning on doing multiplayer with this when they originally started like development of this game like forever ago. What was it like? I think originally the Twitter account was made in like 2013, early 2013. And we're just now getting the game, later on this year. Multiplayer probably came up midway through development, and they decided that it could be something fun as a standalone product. I mean, really, if you look at even Cyberpunk's 2077's Twitter account, they started going a bit crazy too and saying, don't believe the clickbait headlines and all this. what we are seeing here is Cyberpunk 2077, the single-player game that will be on sale later on this year, won't have microtransactions in. At least according to them, currently, right now, it will be free and clear of any microtransactions, and they will be adding, according to them, free DLC and then maybe even paid DLC down the line if it maybe does well enough and there is enough content there to package in, kind of like how they did with Witcher and the Blood and Wine and all of that. But going over to the multiplayer side, there's still a lot we need to know about this. Sure, the microtransactions could be all cosmetic, and a lot of times people are okay with that, but what if this multiplayer site is free to play? Like, for example, CD Projekt Red already does microtransactions in a game of theirs. That's Gwent. It's free to play, and no one really ever mentions it because of that. It has microtransactions in it, similar to like one of those digital card games where you buy packs and all of this, right? But they've dealt with this before, so there wouldn't really be much of a difference if they did that same thing with Cyberpunk 2077's multiplayer, and I kind of expect them to make it free to play, similar to what like Call of Duty has done like Warzone, and that's worked really well. I don't know if CD Projekt Red will go like Battle Royale with this thing, but I think they're going to make a free-to-play game that will be held up by microtransactions while you're playing it if you want them. So I think there's more information we need to see, but for anyone who is worried, the single-player side of Cyberpunk 2077 will not have microtransactions, at least as of today. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Sonic the Hedgehog. Do you remember how this year we were supposed to get an announcement every single month, and they started with like wallpapers for your cell phone? And then nothing after that. The year got messed up. We all kind of understand that. 2020 is kind of a mulligan year at this point for a lot of game developers and companies, and things are getting pushed next year. Okay. But it looks like next year for Sonic, they're going to have a big 30th anniversary blowout, at least according to this slide that they had in an earnings call. And you can see this for investors. It goes through a bunch of different things, which of course talks about their franchise revenue to date being over $6 billion. But then at the bottom, it says that their 30th anniversary 2021 will be a year of celebration, new games, digital content, events, major announcements, and a tailored licensing program. So obviously the big thing here that a lot of people would be looking at would be the new games or even the major announcements. Now, new games, if you're going to have a big 30th anniversary blowout, you might as well do your own 3D collection, kind of like Mario is doing like this year, right? Do your own Sonic 3D collection. You could throw the Sonic Adventure games in there, 1 and 2. You could throw Sonic Shuffle in there just to be funny. I mean, it was a fun party game, so why not? And then, of course, you can go through and pick Sonic Heroes and all kinds of other 3D Sonic games. And I'm curious how many 3D Sonic games would have to be in a package like that for you to feel like it's worth $60? That's an interesting question to go over, but I'm hoping this works out and it leads up to a big Sonic announcement for a new 3D Sonic game. Can you imagine if they really did next year announce Sonic Adventure 3? Would that get people hyped? I think so, and that would be a really fun way to kind of kick off, I guess, their big 30th anniversary, maybe even close it out. I would also expect probably some brand collaborations for clothing, of course, collectibles. Maybe they talk a little bit about the next movie or something, like a panel somewhere. There's a lot of stuff they can do, and I'm hoping it works out better than it did for this year for Sonic, because they kind of forgot that they were supposed to be announcing a lot of stuff this year, and maybe they're saving it to next year. They've already talked about how the next 3D Sonic game they want to take their time on, and hopefully next year is when we get to see it. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day. As you're seeing here, this is from Thomas saying, Nintendo announces limited run game scalpers. I'll take your entire stock. And this is something that was pretty popular even on Twitter, where people are buying multiple copies of the game, 2, 3 of them. Maybe they're getting one for a gift. They want to leave one sealed and then play the other one. Okay, makes sense to get ahead of that before the holiday rush, but keep in mind, if some of these places are allowing that many purchases to someone who has, good intentions to, actually play it or just keep one for collector's value, that means it's probably open for scalpers to buy 20, 30, 40 of them, keep them until the end of March, beginning of April when they immediately jump up in value, or even until next holiday when they're even higher in value because you can't buy them and it's delisted. It's an interesting thing to see, isn't it, for Nintendo to just immediately say, oh, March 31st, we won't be selling them anymore. So I am curious because obviously scalpers noticed right away that they could do this. Would it have been better, in your mind, you can comment down below, if Nintendo had waited until, say, first week of February. And they were like, oh yeah, in 60 days, so like right at the beginning of April, we won't be sending these to stores anymore and they'll be delisted digitally. That way it would have stayed the same price as a normal game release through the holiday. Or are you happy that Nintendo just said, you know what? March 31st, we're not selling them anymore and it's being delisted because obviously that set scalpers running towards Amazon and eBay and all these places. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit the like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether it's CD Projekt Red dealing with microtransactions in their multiplayer side, but kind of getting blurred into the single player, and people were all over the place. Yesterday was an interesting thing to see CD Projekt Red and their Cyberpunk 2077 Twitter account be all over the place, but let me know what you think about that situation. Also, what about the Xbox Series S leak? Does it look like what you were thinking it would look like? Is it a bit odd to you? Do you like the look? Let me know about the design down there below. And then Kingdom Hearts on the Switch, it's technically difficult for them to do. What other game do you think they'll bring over? I'm telling you, keep an eye out for Final Fantasy 13. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.